Good evening. Oh, it's about 11:30. I got about a half hour. This is going to be a short one, ideally. Um, I got to go back to work, which sucks. Tomorrow I have to do a very early training. My freedom is being slowly drained. I can feel the hands of time. Just kind of because I'm going to be back to lesson planning and all that stuff and building stuff for my students and posting stuff, you know, and all that. So I won't have as much of my time. One of the downsides about being a teacher is it's like a 24-hour job, and I only get paid for like 7.5 hours, roughly. I mean, it's salary, but it's hourly, which is illegal. From my understanding, you cannot be hourly and salary. It's one or the other, but they break it down to over a quarter. Look, I don't know how that works. The government gets away with whatever it wants. Um, okay, so Botrix kicked, but I don't see. Oh, I see why. I didn't actually turn. Oh, it is there. It is showing up in chat, but it's not showing up on my end. Hold on a second. Let me fix that. It's so much nicer without having the stuff in the background. Oh, let me connect the stream while I'm here too. So we'll connect stream. And let me close that. There it is. I gotta put up my little chat overlay so I can see what you're saying without having to look directly into OBS. And then I'll test it. 3, 2, 1, hi. Yay, I can see it. And then that should bounce and hit the screen for you guys. There's like a 20-second delay or something, but there it is. So yeah, so back to the work for me. I got some events coming up if you are interested. So we're going to be at the, when I say we, I always generally just say we, but I will be at the Imagine Museum again. This is going to be August 28th. It's going to be a Friday. That's 5 p.m. to 9 p.m. So I'll be out there with the comic. I'll be out there with my books and stuff. If you guys are interested and want to come out and chat and get a book signed or something like that, I'll be there. We'll also be at the Safety Harbor Comic Fest. That's going to be September 26th. That's going to be Saturday. Saturday morning, I think it goes to like 9 to 2 or something like that. And then I am set up to do St. Pete Comic Con, which is going to be in April. It's going to be April 17th and 18th, Saturday and Sunday. So I'll be out there as well. I'm going to see if Patrick will be joining us for the Comic Con. He probably will not come down for the other two, but I can probably get him to come out to the Comic Con to do some signings. So that'll be kind of cool. But Patrick is currently working on issue number 2. He's doing the blocking. So I sent him the script actually today, and he's going to go through it. We have a meeting on Monday to go over some things, and then he'll do the blocking. So pretty excited about all that. My time is getting smaller, but I've been working on other stuff. So this week was all training in preparation for kids coming back on Tuesday. Joy. I like teaching. I do. But it just takes up so much of my time because once I'm out, I shut off, like mentally. I shut off any connection to work. I don't answer emails. I don't answer phone calls. Whatever. So once I'm off campus, you can't contact me till the following day because I try to preserve as much of my time as possible. But even when I'm home, I'm building tutorials, I'm building lessons, I'm doing that sort of thing. I almost never do any grading at home. I leave that for there, but um, I can't build any tutorials on site because all of the restrictions of the district get in the way. Um, I can't put because I can't have the recording equipment on. I can't have the software that they have. It's all that in the way. So I do that at home. But I really don't even have time there. Um, I couldn't do a tutorial during like my planning period. I only get like 45 minutes or whatever for a planning period. So that's not enough time. It might be enough time to record like a quick 15-minute demo and then on the next day do some editing. But if it takes 15 minutes to record a video, it takes about 15 to 20 minutes to edit the video. So that's just how it works out. Anyway, enough about that stuff. What have I been up to with the game? Well, a few things. I think last time we left off, I was doing the level design. Let me jump over to that level. Actually, before that, well, that's fine. Level design, maps. I'm rebuilding this level. So I got this blocked out pretty well. But there's some scaling issues. So the blocks, I made them big because I wanted I wanted the vibe that so like a lot of Metroidvanias, the world seems a lot smaller relative to the character, and I wanted to have some bigger things, but these are too wide for the camera. So when you're in here, you can't see the edge of the blocks. So that what I need to do for this, oops, is make these shorter so that you can see the edge of the blocks, because that gives the player some like a heads up to what kind of block they're on and if there's space below it or space above it and stuff like that. So just one of those design choices. So when I made it, I had one thing in mind, but after implementing it, I go, okay, this is not going to be useful. I need to change that up. That doesn't mean I have to change all these blocks. What's nice is if you build them to scale and you keep scale in mind, then you just change your scale value. So I really could very quickly zoom out, get the whole level, grab all the blocks to level, do it this way. Minus the doors, because the doors are different. And then set, I go into my perspective view here. That's not going to be good for me. I was hoping to get a bit of a closer view so I could see. I guess I'll just do my zoom. Huh. Camera is on, right? Okay, yeah. Sometimes I forget to turn that thing on. Okay. And then I can go, well, I just need this to be about half as wide. And then voila, magic blocks. And this is much cleaner. Let me hit F2. So now I can see cleanly above and below, and this is a lot better. But at this point, you can see that this is actually scaled too big. So I made the world, and I do want the world to be big compared to him, but the blocks are huge compared to him. So it just feels like, I don't know, like if you play an old, like early Nintendo 64 game, and everything's big and blocky, that's what this feels like. So it just doesn't have that polish that I'm looking for. So I think I'm going to go and scale some of this stuff down just a bit so I can get a better feel. Like there's game feel, but there's also like a visual feel, and that the visual feel of this is everything is just too big. So this is one of the things I have to tweak. Also, I broke my camera. You can see my camera's busted. But some other things I added on, I fixed the ground issue. You can see I rebuilt the ray trace, so you get the you get the feedback coming down here. It used to be that if you were down here and you jumped, it would break. But that doesn't break anymore. So I don't fall into the thing. So what I discovered was when you crouch, right, you see how my capsule changes shape? Right, so it's the same thing in Unity, but the capsule resizes from the center. So it goes from here to here. That means you're off the ground for a second, and then you have to fall to the ground. And then when you stand back up, we have to move you up into the air and resize the capsule so that you don't pass through the floor. However, I noticed a bit of a quirk, and the issue was, if you recall from the previous video, let me do this. I'll come out. The issue, if you look at this red line here, this is the origin. So origin is actually here behind these two blocks. If I move them out of the way, it's not gonna let me because it's running. But anyway, the origin is right here. This is 0, 0. That means this is the 0 line. So when Selden is standing here, the ground is positive. When Selden is here, the ground is a negative value. And when he was being moved, the location of the ground was negative, and it was moving his capsule underground, which was a weird quirk, but I went and I fixed that. So he doesn't do that anymore. But that was just a fun puzzle, going through and trying to figure out why it was doing that. I also changed the highlight of this, so it's just easier to read. A few other tweaks that I did. I added flight, so I can fly now. He doesn't have any flight animations, except for the takeoff and the hover. I also cannot reinitiate flight because flight does not cancel when you hit the ground yet, but it is there. That's a bit weird. I also added in when you press a button, it registers as a single press. It wasn't that way before because my input system that I built was allowing for if something was in the pressed state, it was pressed forever. So I added a delay on pressed. So pressed technically is only a 1 check. But I did end up removing that and reverting back. So a couple other things I do have a released delay. So if you release a key, it's only in the release state for like 1 frame or a couple frames or whatever it is. So I changed that. Let me go fix the camera. We can take a look at what I've been doing the past 2 days. So I don't need it for this game. I actually need this. So as we were approaching um, class time, one of the things we're doing is we're building Smash Bros. Um, I still haven't decided if we're doing it in Unreal or Unity. I want to do it in Unreal, but the complexity of Unreal in the classroom is not just a coding thing. We're restricted because the Unreal needs to have admin rights to access some stuff. So that caused a headache. Because of that headache, we can't compile in certain situations. So I think we can get around that this year because of the setup we did for last year to kind of clean that up and make it functional. But anyway, I spent the last 6 hours yesterday, toward the evening, building an input system for checking input sequences. And it took about 6 hours, and I felt very stupid because I was like, why is this taking me so long? But it was fine. I got it built. So I was going to implement it in here to do a dry run. But I want to fix the camera first. So, camera. So for the camera, I broke some stuff. And I'm going to revert back to the initial setup, I think. But I have to look at what I broke. All right, so there's begin play. I think I'll just turn this part off. I'll turn the old part back on because I'm not done building this. So one thing with the camera, and you'll see it when I put the old camera on, is that I want to keep. Do I have a separate follow player? No, it is this one. Okay. So I need this back on. And then I need this back on. Why are you off? There we go. I don't need the offset. I think I built that in. So that can come back on. I know, they look basically identical. They work a little bit different, but they're similar. Vertical, I'm going to leave alone. And that. So that should put the camera back to where it was. But the issue with the camera is that it pops in certain spots, and I don't like the pop. So I want to smooth out that pop. I have a few options of how I can do it. You can do a lerp, linear interpolate, to the player's position, so it's a smoother. So when the player moves away from the camera's center axis, the camera will interpolate the distance back, and it kind of eases in or eases out from the player. Not terribly difficult to do. It really is, do a linear interpolate. There's a function that handles that for you. You don't even have to think about it. So there's that. And there's just a few other things with it, but I have other behaviors that I want the camera to do. So I have like the world boundaries, so stopping at certain parts of the world and not letting you go beyond that. if it's the edge of the world or the floor of the world or the top of the world. So the camera needs to stop at those points, and then if the player walks beyond that point, like if they found a secret, the camera will adjust to them. So just little things like that, quality of life stuff. That's not super important now, but I do want it to be in there eventually. But as I build this stuff, I try to build things with the future in mind, so I don't have to keep rebuilding things. Yeah. Computer still builds slow when I'm recording. So I did figure out what was going on. It's just not something that I can afford to fix at the moment. So I thought I had 64 gigs of RAM, or sorry, I thought I had, when I purchased the RAM, I thought I purchased 96 gigs, and I only, so 4 sticks of 32, or yeah, I needed 196 gigs. But I only ended up getting 64. So instead of, so that was me being stupid. But then RAM prices now are insanely high, so I can't correct that without spending an absorbent amount of money. So that's why I'm bottlenecking on RAM, because I had half the RAM that I thought I needed, or half the RAM that I thought I had. All right, so I think the camera is back to the way it was. Yeah, so camera is back to the way it was. So this isn't too bad. That motion's fine. Going left and right is fine. But did you see that pop? That instant adjustment caused the camera to pop to me. Crouching is fine. But if I do a crouch jump, so a little bit of a goofiness there. Like that's pretty fine. And I think I fixed it. Yeah, it used to be whenever I landed from a high point, there was a snap. So I did fix that. But yeah, there were a couple of moments where it just snaps that I wanted to work out. But doing a lerp to the player position will just solve that. That triangle's too high. I'm not supposed to be able to grab there. I need to implement vaulting, but I just haven't done that yet. I did fix, so we had an issue where I could stick to these walls. So these walls are not really a thing in Unreal anymore. These are sort of left over from Unreal 4. They're BSPs, so a binary space partition. Unreal doesn't really do them anymore. It kind of does. If you go under here, let's see, where are they hidden? Oh, I have to change the build, the mode. What is my build? Oh, there we go. So we have selection, foliage, mesh paint modeling, and brush editing. So brush editing is this. This is considered a BSP brush. So you kind of have these, but it doesn't work the same way it used to. So BSPs were pretty cool. It would make a block in space. And if you've ever used Pro Builder in, what is it, Blender, not Blender, Unity. Wow, that took me a second to get there. Getting tired. But yeah, so it has additive and subtractive options for booleans and whatever not. So it's pretty convenient to work in. But when you use it to block out a level, you're supposed to then convert it to actual geometry, because BSPs are CPU intensive, and So whereas most of your geometry is GPU intensive, it offloads all of the triangles to the GPU, and the GPU renders all the triangles. Um, your all the geometry is subdivided into triangles. That's just how they're discussed. But BSPs are not. They're done by the CPU. So when you build your level out of them, you kind of slow the game down. So you're supposed to convert it to static meshes, which then gets handled by the GPU. So now if you were to make one of these, what it does is it auto converts it. So if I make a brush, oh, this one looks like it might be. Flip, create, yeah, faces, edges, vertices. Yeah. So if I come out here, oh man, where's the? I am in that mode, yeah. Let's do an apply. Oh, I'm in play mode. I can't do anything in play mode. Where did it go? This used to be very straightforward. I guess they changed it, but whatever. But you would build it in here. You'd build the block, and it would auto convert to a mesh. Maybe I'm on the wrong thing. Basic box. Let me see. There's this one. Okay, so it's this one. It's this one, not that one. But yeah, so there's your BSP in the making. And then do they still allow? Oh, they have voxel processing now. That's new. Well, new to me. But anyway, you'd build it, and then once you accept it, this is now a static mesh of this. So it kind of converts it right away. Whereas, so you can see the box, and this is static mesh components. Whereas if I grab this, you can see in here, we have a brush component. And so the brush, hey, how's it going, Brad? So the brush allows you to, where are my settings? That's pan and zoom, select, advanced. There we go. So we can set it to additive or subtractive. So it's based off the comic Wielders of Aether, which is, hey, plug, shameless plug. So after the attack of the Pulsari, so the Pulsari attacked Earth in Wielders of Aether. Selden, who is the Guardian of Life, is going basically to punish them, essentially. There's some back and forth. He said, don't attack defenseless worlds. They came and attacked Earth. So he intervened. So the game is based on him going to their home worlds and doling out justice. But there's some story elements that I don't want to throw out there to spoil it, but that's the gist of it. But it's a Metroidvania. But anyway, the BSP, we have the additive and subtractive option, which is kind of cool. So I can take this and then adjust the brush to be whatever. Let's make this, I don't know, 500. And then let's go 300. And then I can take this and go like this and say I want that to be subtractive. And now that's a clean cut. Oops, I broke it. So that's just one of those neat things about BSPs. Thank you. So what brings you over tonight? Yeah, so that's kind of like a little cool feature about BSPs, but you do want to convert them to static meshes when you're done with them. So, anywho, that was a tangent, but anyway. So I noticed that Selden could jump and stick to the BSPs. So when I was making him, oops, he could cling to the BSPs just fine. But when he was trying to cling to well, thank you for joining. Well, that was weird. But anyway, he was trying to cling against the static meshes, whether it was my static mesh imported or one of the Unreal static meshes. He would stick initially, but then he would unstick, and it would break. So I had to go through and figure out why that was happening, which I ended up solving. But that was weird. But that was one of those moments where the camera didn't follow. Another thing I had to fix. So part of it had to do with the way the raycast, so the ground check was hitting the static mesh. So when I would be up here, that forward ground check would hit the static mesh and count as a collision. But it wouldn't do that to the BSP. So I had to rewrite how that was interacting with the static meshes. So that was one thing I had to fix. And there was another thing I had to fix. But I can't remember what it was. So I'm too tired to think about it. But it was one of those things I had to tweak out. But yeah, so now he can stick to these just fine. So that's all working. So yeah. Anyway, so the thing I was working on the past 6 hours, this took me way too long. This is not something that should have taken that long, but it was just one of those things that took longer than I thought it would. And then I was like, man, I'm dumb. That should not have taken me that long. But this is just a little sequence checker. So if you enter a certain number of key presses, right? So let's say you're playing Mortal Kombat and you want to do down, forward, low kick, and you shoot a fireball or something. Well, you want to have a thing that captures those inputs and then compares it to a set of inputs required for that combination. So this is what this does. So if I run it, so this is the sequence, and this is, say, a user input. So it scans this and finds the correct inputs. So I had to make a bit of a buffer because as you're pressing a key, the code that you're scanning for is only so long, but you could have pressed 40 keys. So I have to figure out where in that sequence do I check for that entry. So that was a bit of a trick to kind of work out the amount of time you would need between presses and whatnot. So this is just the mechanics of this thing working. So I know the checker works. So I have to integrate this into the actual game to test it. But I don't need it for this game, but I wanted to test it because we're going to use it for the Smash Bros. Fighting game thing that we're building. So yeah. Let's jump over to here. And I need to add on, for this check to work, I need to add on an ID for it. So what do I want this one to be? I have a few options. I can do it as a string. String comparisons are a bit slow because strings are stored basically in a table, and they're optimized by usage. So if you've already stored a string once, it just kind of keeps it. So they're a bit slow. I could do it as an enum. I could build an enum around the different key types. I could just make it an integer and give them each a unique ID. But that's harder to track, to remember, so that's where enum comes into play. But as a rough, I could just do it as text. Let's do that. Let's do the enum. This shouldn't care where I put this enum. What do I need here? I'll just go grab one. There, we'll grab our enum class and our type. It'll just save me some time. We'll drop that in here. Okay, so this will be why are you mad? That's weird. Oh, Epic Games already has an E keys. Okay. So I'll do this as I don't know. There we go. So what do I want? I've got left, right, up, down. Those are my different directional inputs. I need my face buttons. So I also need left and right triggers and start and select. So we have start, select, bumper left, bumper right, trigger left, trigger right, and then face. I could do these I could do them numerically, but I think left, right, up, and down is easier. So yeah, so face left, face right, face up, face down. What else? We have when you have the joystick and you press in. So I could distinguish them. I could make the inputs on the stick independent. I think I'll just do the thumbstick buttons, not worry about the directional. But for the right thumbstick, maybe. I'll come back for right thumbstick. We'll worry about that later. We'll say thumbstick. Left. What do I call that? Sometimes finding names for stuff is the hardest part, right? I'll do this one as... So I like to name things based on what they are and then what they do. So these are my keys, left, right, up, and down, whatever. And then my bumpers, triggers, face buttons. But if I do thumbstick left, so it's a thumbstick, it's the left thumbstick, and then what does it do? So it's thumbstick left, left, thumbstick left, up, left, right. That's just going to be weird, but I'll do thumbstick left and then button. And then I'll do thumbstick right button. And I gotta make sure I put a comma there. I think those are all the buttons. For handling diagonal, I don't know yet. I don't know if I want to make a separate input for that. I like that. You must play a lot of Among Us. We know right away when someone says trust that they're definitely the imposter. All right, so I've got that. So now I can use that in here. So this is E key type. And this will be key type. A bunch of us, we play Among Us Saturdays. And we have a little bit of a group, we get together and we do that. And I need to set an option for none because when can you join? I don't know. We normally do it around 6-ish p.m. Eastern Standard Time. You'd have to grab my Steam ID and send an invite or something, but it's SEI783 at Yahoo. So put that on the screen. Yeah, my Steam. So that's my Steam. How goes it? Oh, I left this editor up. I don't need this one on. How goes it? Not too bad. I'll leave this one as key types. None. That way it's set. But why are you broken? Simple. This declaration has no storage class or type specifier. Why would I get that for you? It may be mad that this is happening after. Let's put this before. No, it doesn't seem to be the point. Huh. Oh, that was a bust. Why is that broken here? I don't know. I think I'm pretty bad at coding. uh, really, it's you got to get your hands dirty in doing it. Um, it's a lot of repetition. It's trying things. It's stumbling a lot. The more you stumble, the more you have to kind of work through your problem, the easier it is to solve other problems. If that makes any sense. Let me try. Well, I actually won't be able to do it from the E-state, but hold on a second. So on Selden, I'm pretty sure GTA 6, yeah. I don't know if I would say they're good at making games. Oh, you see the general what is it they say? If you can't do, teach. That's the yeah. Yeah, so I was able to create that there. Why is that one broken? Uh, go back to here. Interesting. I have this one set as blueprint type. I don't have it set as enum type. But both of these are enum types. Or blueprint types. And this one is a blueprint type. Yeah, so UE non-blueprint type, that's right. Yeah. There's the type specifier for U8. I wonder why that's upsetty spaghetti. That's gonna bug me. That shouldn't be broken there, but yeah. Declaration of, and then the usage of. Let's see if it's mad that it's inside of a struct. Let's drop it somewhere else. So it's mad that it's inside the struct. But that shouldn't matter. Basically, like I said, doing making code more difficult. That's why I said that. That's going to put me in a loop, but I'll come back to that part later. I'll just mainly do the ID as a string. The enum would be smoother, but it's broken, so. It's interesting. Let's do this as we'll just have this be. Am I excited for school to start? Pass. I like having the freedom and the time to just work on stuff, and I guess everybody does, right? So one of the hard things about making games solo is it takes a lot of time. It's one of those moments where throughout the 2 months in the summer are great because I get to do this and work on just my stuff without having to do a lot of the lesson planning. All right, so f text. Let's make this I don't know, key type. Yeah. Let's do this one as text, an empty string. Yeah, well, this summer did go by, I think, slower than last summer, which I enjoy. I like it when the summer goes by slower. That means that I was doing a lot and I was busy. Usually it goes by faster. And if it goes by faster, usually that means I'm laying around doing nothing, watching TV the whole time or sleeping most of it. So I made sure to be up and productive. So I think I did pretty well over the summer. So I got, why is ftext mad? I can't speak to that. I can't say whether or not it'll be good or bad if a student of anybody isn't. Yeah, that would just wouldn't be good. Supposed to treat all students equally. I'll just pass it as a raw string then. Give me an empty string. Why is ftext breaking? It really does not want me to do it that way. This is what happens when you get, like, when you're too tired. Let me just run into here. I'm just gonna grab, I don't need a transform. It's fine. Can I do it as an F name? That is weird. I'm getting that there as well. Hold up a second. That should not be breaking either place. I'm just going to drop this one in and make a different vector. Huh. That's just breaking in general. It's not mattering what I'm putting there. Let me remove this real quick. Sometimes Unreal gaslights you, and I feel like I'm being very gaslit right now. Let me just make a float. We'll call it your mom. We'll set it to 0. Doesn't want me to do that either. U property is correct. Yeah, that should be fine. No errors there. No errors there. Let me see if that's a real error or if it's an IntelliSense error. Well, it does have a flag of 2 errors, but it ran anyway. That was gonna have as much experience as you? Yeah. Wow, that's gonna bug me. I don't know why it's throwing that. Is that your Among Us XP? All right. Game's running, right? Yeah, game's running. Cool. That is really weird. That is super bizarre. I don't know why it's doing that. Let me go back to Yeah, all those are fine. I'll drop this back in. Now this one's broken. I'm just gonna save Visual Studio and close it for a second because it's being weird. I feel like I was chasing a ghost. A problem that doesn't exist. Wait for IntelliSense to kick back on. So you guys excited to come back? I should do a live stream of playing Among Us. That'd be pretty fun. But if I do a live stream of Among Us, then you'll know if I'm imposter or not. So if you're playing against me, yeah. Well, this one's gonna be pretty fun because you guys should be experienced enough to do some Unreal stuff. So. It depends on how much of a disturbance you are. There are a few changes. There's a lot, actually a lot of changes district wide that have to be discussed. So yeah, some C++ stuff. See, now it's not angry, but we'll see. Key type, this is going to be key types none. Oh. There we go. Now it's not angry. Why was it angry earlier? I don't know. No disturbances, trust. Hopefully. The big thing, class-wise, is food in the classroom. That's always a problem every year. So I've done C, C++, C Sharp, Java, JavaScript. You're zoning in this year? Well, good. What else? GML, HTML, CSS isn't really... HTML and CSS, they're not really programming languages, but they're on that line. I can look at Python. I can read Python, but I can't write Python. If that makes any sense. Pilot AI in class again. All right. So we got the key type. Now I need to build a... Hey guys, if you wouldn't mind, if you're in my class, don't call out each other's names. I don't want to get flagged for you guys sending names across the internet. All right. Yeah, because somewhere some parent is going to blame me for you doing that. So we'll do that. All right, so now I need to build a thing that checks for the key types. So how do I want to do that? I need to build a function that takes in that type. So I think I will make it a bool. This is going to be check input sequence. And we need to pass in an input sequence. Chill your beans. Talk about beans makes me want to play Among Us. All the beans in the world. So I can pass in a sequence, or I can well, I also need to add an input to a sequence. So that'll be a thing. So void add input to this game. It's a Metroidvania about if you know about the comics, so Wielders of Aether. So that's my comic. So Selden is the guardian of life, and after the Pulsari have attacked Earth, so the Pulsari is a alien race that has gone around, destroying civilizations and taking their stuff. They're planetary pirates. Well, he already had an encounter with them. If you've read the book, where he's like, "Don't go attacking defenseless worlds." Not gonna say you can't go out and destroy stuff, but you need to at least be on a level playing field. But after they attacked Earth, Selden goes out to give them a bit of a spanking, if you want to put it that way. Thank you. So this one will take in the input sequence. This is going to be E key types. This one for checking a sequence. I'm not sure how I want to add that sequence. I'm not sure if I want to pass in and gamble your life away. That's funny. Gambling's bad. It's like an addiction or something. Most of my time is spent staring at the screen thinking, how do I want to build this thing? Because as I'm thinking about it, I'm trying to think of how I'm going to use it. Does that make sense? CS2 cannot be this good. We used to have Unreal parties. So like, before they pulled the Unreal Tournament, we used to play a lot of Unreal. That was pretty fun. Speaking of, there's esports this year. Esports is starting off early this year. Yeah. Let's see. Oh, I don't think I need to pass in um, the input sequence from the user. I think I can store that. But Unreal Tournament, we called it Zappy Zappy. That was a lot of fun. That's a really fun game. And Unreal Tournament 3, well, Unreal Tournament in general, they always had the level editor, which was tied into, you know, this the Unreal Engine, so you could build your levels and port them into Unreal, which is what they're doing with UEFN. They're basically making that for Fortnite. Um, I don't know. I preferred Unreal Tournament to Fortnite, but I think Fortnite kind of killed Unreal Tournament. Gears of War is still kind of a thing. All right, so add input to input sequence. That one I think is going to be pretty straightforward, but then when I call check input sequence, I need to check the specified sequence for an event. Valorant, I haven't played it, but I did see on the esports list, they added a new game to the esports list. Um, I'm trying to think of what it was, but I can't pull it up. Actually, I probably can pull it up. Hold on a second. They sent me the list. I can pull up the list. I was like, I can't pull it up on stream because it would, but I can pull it up this way. I don't want to say the wrong game that they added, but when I saw it, I was like, oh, they're going to love that. Where is it? Well, that's all the way back in July 31st. It's way too far back. Let's do sports. Okay. This year the roster is Rocket League. Nobody plays Rocket League. Super Smash Bros. Marvel Rivals, and Mario Kart. That's what's going to be on the league this year. I know a lot of people were asking about Marvel Rivals last year, so that's been added. I did request for StarCraft. I sent the esport people, I sent them StarCraft because there's a lot of real money to be made playing StarCraft. Yeah, Rocket League's not my favorite either. We had a hard time putting a league together last year, but some people like it. All right, so I need to accept a sequence here. And I think I compare that against a global sequence. Let me go up to under input. I'm going to do this at the start of inputs, I think. We have these. Okay. Now I can add an input. This is going to be array. This is I'll do input sequence. And this is going to be what do I want to call this? What would make sense? It doesn't really matter internally because you guys will never see the code, but when I want to go back to this thing, what do I want to call it? I was just going to call it sequence, but really that's not good enough. I guess expected input sequence. It's still a bit too bland. Maybe ability input sequence. I don't know. But whatever. So I had to load these. So you guys ready to learn some code? You guys did some C# last year. We're going to dive a little bit deeper. Definitely some C++ because you're going to be doing some Unreal. You got to build your characters for the Smash Bros. Add in your abilities. Okay, so we're going to be taking in T-array. It depends on what level you are. So if you're coming in as a sophomore, then this year it's we have multiplayer, so how to do network multiplayer, and we do a bit of a deeper dive on how to do animation using motion capture, and we go a little bit farther into coding. Of course, you'll learn another programming language, how to work with collaborative projects over. We did a little bit of it last year, but we didn't really do it. We did it like near the end of the year, which is using my brain just disappeared. But source control, basically. Any like Unity Collab or anything where you have to collaborate with a project over network and send stuff back and forth, any of those tools. I don't want to specify the tools, but yeah, so I like a lot of that stuff. Um, I'll build this one, and then I'll build this one. We did go over how to fix merge conflicts, but we need to do a refresher on how to do that. Okay, so we add a key to a sequence. My brain just went, you can make an embedded function into the struct and just call it, whatever the key is, and then call it and then do it internally, which would be perfectly fine. I'm trying to think of the reasons why I wouldn't want to do that. And the only reason I can think of, the only legitimate reason I can think of, is the thing we're using to check the sequence is external. And it just kind of makes sense that the thing that adds the thing to the sequence would be external for consistency, but there's no other real reason. But if you had the key add itself, then you could skip the step of inputting the key, which I think would be very useful. I'll write both, and I'll show you why my brain's going that way. So really all this is to add it is I call the sequence. This is going to be user input sequence. We add, and all we're going to do is pass in the key type. That's it. That's all we're doing. But I could do this here, or I could build this as a function on this. So we have tap keys, all that stuff. And then inside of this thing, I can do void add to input string. Oops. And then again, I would just call right. But here it doesn't quite exist. It hasn't been created yet. So that's where the break would happen. So I could do it as this. So I can take in the sequence, and then in sequence would be add. And then from here, it would be, what did I call it? Key types. Yeah, key type. So I take the E off there. Helps if I spell things correctly. Jeez, I can't spell. There we go. So I can do it that way. And then on the actual key, go to one of the keys here. So if I hit a key, let's say jump key. So I have two ways I can call it, right? I can have add user, add input to sequence. In this case, I would just add fjump dot key type. Right, that's one way I could add it. The other way would be fjump dot add to input string or input sequence, whatever I want to call it, right? And then I have to specify what thing I'm adding it to. So I have to call that. So that's going to be user input sequence. So either way, I got to specify one thing. I could have this add the key, or I could have the key add itself to the sequence. Two different ways of skinning the same cat, but that's whichever. I think this is slightly less cumbersome. You know, either way works. You have to decide for yourself which one you would choose. But I think I'm going to stick with this one. But that does remind me, I have to I'll pull this one off. I need to add my jump key, which I do have my jump key on here. It's face button down. So yeah, I mean I could do it that way. I need to add the actual key type to this though. I guess I'll add it here. Doesn't really matter. So fjump dot key type is new key types. Face button down. This does seem kind of redundant to do it here. To do this and then this feels redundant. The upside of doing it this way is if I have to call this anywhere else, I can just call this and add its key type. It just happens to be that I'm doing them both on the on this function. I think I'll put these together. But that does feel redundant. I may go back and change this for simplicity. We don't care about the key when we let go of the key. And as I'm thinking about this, I don't always think of every contingency, but as I'm thinking about this, I really am seeing this being redundant. Because later when I'm trying to set up a sequence, I can't spend, like if I could do, when I want to add to whatever sequence, if I call this and this is not set at the time that I call it, I'll just get none. Right, so that means I have to preset this, and right now I'm setting it directly on this function. So this is Unreal's function that grabs the key data, and I'm just kind of leeching off of that. So to set it here, to set this type here, would break if I try to do this outside of this key set. And I can't set this on this input preset. I can't do it because each key has to have its own name. So the only way that would work is if I do it on the constructor or begin play of the event, and I can go and set them all. So that's a way of doing it. Predefine them, I only have to define them once. Does this have, it does have begin play, so I could do it on begin play. I could try doing it on the constructor, but I don't think I have to go that far up. I think I can do it on the begin play. I think I'll do it here. This is left. Don't be a copy paster. So right will be right. Up will be up. Down will be down. Do I have punch? Is punch in here yet? Punch is in here. So that's going to be face right. Is kick in here? Face. It should be face up. I don't have an energy key. I've got crouch, punch, kick, basic move. I don't have the shoulder buttons, but I will put the energy button in here. Actually, I won't put the energy button in here because I don't have a button set up for it, so I'll skip that for now. But punch and kick, crouch, jump, I can get those. This probably wouldn't be the best way of doing it, though, because I'm basically hard coding these in. So if the user wanted to change inputs or whatever, I mean, realistically, that wouldn't matter. Since Unreal's input system already kind of handles swapping out the actual inputs, whatever input is assigned to that function call would be agnostic to whatever these are. These would still perform the same way, so it should be fine. I'm thinking out loud as I do this. Don't worry about that. All right, so left, right, up, down, punch, crouch, jump. Key type. This is down. And was it a jump? Face down. Yeah, so crouch becomes redundant on that action because crouch is down, but down is down. So I don't think I need this one. Do I have... Am I actually using F crouch or anything? I am. So I have a redundant call already. I can see that being a problem later. All right. Let's take a look at that function. Expected sequence, this sequence. This one adds the key type. We want to go to this function. So for now, I still have to add timings. This input timer has to be checked. But I think for the moment, I'm just going to drop my code in. I'm going to have to redo this once I drop it in. All this is going to be broken. But these warnings can go. So yeah, I'm going to take this, pop it in here. That's all going to break. Now I'm going to flip this around. So the user sequence is going to be the my incoming sequence. This one is going to be the expected sequence. Let's see. In Unreal, I think num is the actual size. Returns number of elements, yeah. So it needs to be num. There is no output to the console. I could set that as a ulog. I don't think I need to. I could do it for error checking, but I really don't need to for the game. What I could do is map a lot of that to the screen, though, so when you could see the inputs. Let's make this UE log. What is it? It's temp, warning, and then the message. This is I don't really need this because you're going to be pressing buttons all the time. So your input sequence is going to be broken more often than not. So this is just going to spam my console. But let me grab off of let's grab the ulog here. Log temp, that's what I'm missing. Log temp, and then capital W. And this would return false. Okay. I don't actually need to store a found sequence. I can for debugging purposes. But I don't need to, so I can remove that. My in sequence. This is the expected sequence. Num. I built it in small scale, so it was easy to work out the bugs, but now I gotta do it the long way. This is this one. So I think for here, I will take this and just do this and replace with that. And then any sequence.lengths I can do. And also the different naming conventions. So like in C#, a lot of things are camel case, and Unreal, everything's Pascal case. Not that it matters, it's just a convention. This I actually don't need. Again, another ulog. Did I leave that one lowercase? No, I did not. Log temp, warning, text. This one is let's see. On this one, it was input sequence was too short, right? So yes. And then on this one is simply just a bad match. So this will be bad sequence. This one is this one. I don't need the found sequence. I can take that out. This one is this one. The rest of this looks like it should be fine. And then down here, again, I'm not outputting this. If we get the correct number of checks, then this is going to be this one. this output message. That is going to be log temp. Warning. Not that warning. Text. What up next? This one's going to be correct sequence. This returns true. And then if we get down to here, we'll just report this one. And return false. So that should be reconfigured. Now I gotta go through and just make sure. So if the user sequence is less than the expected sequence, then it's just going to end and say, nope, no good. Otherwise, if we get past that, we'll just set our preset stuff. The first loop is our expected sequence, and then inside there, and we want to run it this way because the expected sequence is allowed to be smaller than the user sequence, because the user is going to punch a bunch of buttons while they're playing. So we'll have a buffer of like 8 or so inputs, however many. And then we will run this one, and we want to compare. So the internal one is the user sequence. So we're going to run through each set. And then if the expected sequence, if the first value of the expected sequence is equal to the first, is equal to some value in the user sequence, then we're going to stop there, capture that. We're going to break out of the loop, and we'll go down to here. If our stop index is not valid, then we'll skip over it. But if it is valid, we'll come in and we'll just check to make sure that wherever we stopped, if where we stopped has enough spots left open in the sequence. So let's say you punched in 8 buttons, and it's like a 2-code sequence that you have to check for. Well, then if it starts at the top of the 8 list, well, then you have 7 additional places you can check to see if the code is correct, right? But if you find a match at the bottom of the sequence, then there are no spaces left, so it would be an invalid code. It would just throw that one out. So, so that's what this is checking. So we get a bad sequence, which we're going to get this a lot because our sequence isn't going to add up a lot. Now, if this is the first number of the sequence, then we can kind of skip over, right? Because if it's the first one and we're at the bottom of the sequence, then there's no room left. So we exit early. If it's the first one or in this case, if it's the first one or the there's plenty of space left, then we can kind of go through and just say, hey, we got a hit. We'll store that spot that we got a hit, because that's where we have to start next, because we have to get these exactly in a row. So you can't just say position 1 was correct and position 5 was correct and positions, 9 or whatever was correct. It has to be position 1, 2, 3, and 4 if it's a 4-code sequence. It has to be position 1 and 2 if it's a 2-code sequence. It has to be positions 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 if it's a 5-code sequence, right? They have to be in order. Well, how do you track that? Because a code can be any length. So for this, I did it as wherever you found one. If it was the first one, then we'll store that. Otherwise, see where that is. And we're going to say, hey, if it's more than one position away, then it doesn't count. And we'll just move the checker down one spot. And so we'll start at 0 from the next spot down. And then we'll check again. And we'll just repeat that over and over again until we get to the end. It's kind of like a reverse bubble sort, actually, if you think about sorting. Because I'm basically sorting down, not up, but yeah. But anyway, if this breaks, then if any of this breaks, then we have to start over at the top of the sequence. Well, the next available spot, but starting from 0. So that's what we do is reset it here. So if the code failed, so let's say it's an 8-code sequence and it checked positions 1 and 2, and then it broke at position 3. Well, then we know that the code is not between positions 1, 2, and 3. So we're going to start at 3 because that's where it broke, and then we're going to check positions 4, 5, and 6. We'll check down there. So, and we'll do that until we get to the end and whatever not. But that looks like we're okay. I need to set up a timer to clear the sequence after so long. But I'll do that later. I actually have to get up in the morning at like 6:30, which I'm not looking forward to. I do want to do a test run on this, but it won't be a good test run because I'm half awake. Let's go to... Let me see something. YouTube stuff. Chat's been pretty quiet, I guess. Everybody went away. Let's see. I'm looking up my options with a T array. So I was just checking to see if I can do it that way. So on a standard open-ended array, you can pass elements in um, via comma, but I wasn't sure if I could get away with that on a T array. They're built a little different, so functionally they should be the same, but it's fine. The way I want to check this is by doing some bad stuff. So in here, this is the end of my function. Yes, there's basic move. Wait a minute. Why am I jumping to there? Hold on a second. Okay, my stupid self went up instead of down. I know, you're not supposed to like talk bad about yourself, but I get away with that. You gotta be able to recognize your faults so that you can move forward. So I think I want to check this sequence before I check for any idle. So testing input sequence. I'm just thinking about what I can do, what I should do, and what I can get away with. Kind of like both item 1 and item 3 are kind of like the same thing. And really, this is probably not the best way to search for this sequence anyway. But I want to see how well it works. So we're going to do if check sequence. So I may have to predefine the sequence. I was going to try to do the sequence dynamically right here, but that's probably too much overhead because I have to dynamically create an array every frame, 60 frames a second. Like, that would be bad on top of having to check it. That's a lot of checks. That's probably gonna eat up a lot of memory. But we're gonna check the so user input sequence. We want to check that against the expected sequence. So I was going to make the expected sequence one that was dynamic, that I could do it here. And I think what I'll do is over here. Take this one. Let's put a comma here. So over here, we've got that one, and then comma, t-array, e-key, types, boom, boom, boom. It might not let me do this. I'll say All right, this is going to be face button left. Is that going to allow me to do that this way? Adds a new item, probably reallocating the whole fit. Interesting. So it's not mad at me doing it this way, but it is mad at me there. So I'll have to do them independently. Actually, I do want left. And then I'll do this one as face left. And then I can put that in here as expected sequence. UE. What do I want to call this? I don't know. Whatever, it doesn't really matter. So if this is correct, if this sequence occurs, then I should get that response. I need to go fix the function though, because I broke my function. This now has to take in a separate sequence. And then it'll be this. So I was thinking I was going to reset the expected sequence every time, but I don't know if I really want to do that. So I think this visually makes more sense because at each one of those frame steps, I would have to clear the global expected sequence, build it, check it, but there's a delay on inputs, so it would just fail every time. I think you get away with it a little bit cleaner doing it this way, because the keys will remain in the buffer, I think, long enough. But I don't have the actual wiping of the buffer happening anyway, so it probably won't matter. But I think ultimately what I would have to do to make this clean is create a sequence for each of those specific combos, like the forward low kick, or down forward, low punch, or whatever those are. I have to define whatever that attack is, fireball, and then set its sequence. And that way those could be stored, they could be cached. I don't have to worry about building them on the fly. But this should be quick and dirty. Hopefully it'll give me a response. Let's make sure that these are all expected, 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 expected. Okay, so that's that one. I gotta go back down to where it's being used. The other thing I was considering trying on the if statement would be this. um, no, I can't pass it in that way. I had to check. All right. Let's try this and see what breaks. Again, I don't have a buffer, so I don't think I'll be able to see this very well, but I should be able to pull up the user sequence in the editor. Oh, we have a error. What is the error? That's interesting. Expected declaration. Why? Why did that break? I ran it before building the function, and it ran. That's really bizarre. I didn't have that problem earlier, but now I have that problem. Why? Because if there was a circular dependency initially, it shouldn't have ran. What could have happened is E-key types could be used somewhere else in Unreal. And when it went and rebuilt, it found that, but this is expecting a semicolon, but I don't think we're missing one. No, we do have one. This is just the domino effect of that one breaking. Let me turn these ones off up here. Still mad at this. But I'm not using this anymore anyway, so we'll just turn that off. And then the only other place where that would be here. I'll just pass in the key type. Okay, so I got this one. For jump. Yes. Right now I only have the jump button added. Let's hit play. It says no errors, but this one is a bad sequence. It should return false. Any other returns? Return true, false, false, break, false. Okay, so that ran. Right now, if I hit play, let's get the controller. So player controller. And we're going to go in and look at user sequence. There it is. There are no elements in it yet. The only key that I've set up is this one. So there it is. And I can add to the user sequence. So that is added. Let me go ahead and turn that off. I wonder if so sometimes the parser will break in weird spots. I wonder if that bad return was breaking up here. Was breaking this, which is fine. I think this isn't needed anyway. All right, let's go back to here. I'm gonna go back to the top. Mm. Mm. So crouch is kind of redundant. I think I should pull crouch out as far as the action is concerned. But I'll add it here anyway. Move I will leave alone. The right key is going to be right. Left key is going to be left. Up is going to be up. Down is going to be down. But you see, I already have it down, so. And then I have punch. And a kick. But that situation with crouch and down becoming an issue harkens back to when I was designing these inputs. And I was like, do I want to do it based on action or based on key? Because the input system, the new input system that Unreal implemented, calls these input action events. And the idea is to structure them around the action you want to happen, and then you assign keys to them. That's the thought process. But I don't like doing that because it leads to some confusing things. Like in this case, crouch and down being the same action, right? There's some overlap there. So I try to avoid overlap, but I ran into it anyway. All right, so let's get our sequence. Player controller. We'll check the user sequence. And I do want the output log here. So we're going to use your input sequence to short, which is fine. So we have left, left punch. So that should give us correct sequence. Mm. 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 Hooray! Of course, this isn't usable yet, because you can see it's spamming correct sequence. It's going to do that forever because that sequence is being built every time and it's being checked every time. And it was confirmed and it hasn't changed. So this is going to be going forever. But that buffer needs to clear. Like once a sequence is hit, it should just flush the buffer. It also needs to clear after a certain amount of time and after a certain amount of inputs. But I can't have it clear too early because you have to have time to get the inputs in. The human response time is very fickle, so you won't have enough time for human response to enter the keys. But not too long that they're in there, you know, hanging around too long. And you don't want them to clear too quickly because then they'll be out of sequence. And so it's all about timing. But once I do that, the big challenge is because this is basically it's running a loop every frame to compare this, which is not always a good idea. Because loops on tick, a loop basically just freezes the program. So far, it's imperceptible. I'm not really noticing a loop running. Loop is being checked every frame. 60 frames a second, but across hundreds of combinations, like in Mortal Kombat, that could be a lot of checks. That could add up very quickly. So I'd look at a more efficient way of doing it, but I think that works. And you can see the input buffer, or my input. All these are being stored. The more that I pop into this thing, the bigger this is going to be. I'm at 100 and something elements already, right? So I'm just bloating the memory. So that's why you have to clear it after so many. I think 8 inputs is good to keep in the buffer, but after 8, you want to clear them. Or you want your buffer to be as big as your combination, but so like in Mortal Kombat, the brutalities are like 30 inputs. I'm like, how did you manage that? That's a pretty big thing. But anyway, so I got that in here. It's testing. It technically works. I have to rework it. But my voice is gone. It's time for me to go to bed. I gotta get up in a couple hours. I'm gonna cry. But my 30-minute let me test this video, or let me test this, turned into a couple hour thing. So thank you for sticking around and watching me fumble, and I will see you next time I'm conscious. Have a good night.